My name is Alan, and for many years, I lived as if God didn't even exist. On the outside, I looked like just another ordinary guy, one among many. But on the inside, I was destroyed. An emptiness, a pain that couldn't be explained. My life was a mixture of depression, despair, and frustrated attempts to fill a hole that only seemed to grow. And, like many, I sought relief in what the world has to offer. In alcohol, in drugs, in parties, and in everything that only gives you false joy for a few hours, and then throws you even deeper into the pit. And, of course, it couldn't end any other way. My wife got tired. My children started looking at me as if I were a stranger. And one day, they left. You know, I thought that rock bottom was being without money, without work, without health. But it's not. The real rock bottom is being alone. Without God, without anyone, without even yourself. I looked at myself in the mirror and I no longer knew who I was. And, oddly enough, it was in this state that God decided to reach out to me. I remember it like it was yesterday. I was walking aimlessly down the street, with no destination, with no will to live, and from afar, I began to hear a voice, a sermon, I confess. My first reaction was to laugh. I thought it was ridiculous. In my mind, it was just another fanatic shouting verses in the middle of the square. I even tried to speed up my pace and to pretend I wasn't listening. But it seemed like every word pierced my chest. It was as if it was directed at me. I stood there for a few minutes, arms crossed, pretending I was just watching. But inside, I was struggling with myself. This isn't for me. These Bible things don't change anyone's life. God wouldn't want someone like me. Those were the voices in my head. But the more I tried to ignore them, the stronger that message seemed. They spoke of a God who rejects no one, who forgives, who transforms, who gives a new chance. And, to be honest, I couldn't take it anymore. I started to cry. Right there. In the middle of the street. In the middle of the square. In front of everyone. One of the brothers who was preaching came up to me, hugged me, and asked me if I wanted to talk. At that moment I almost said no. My pride was screaming. My flesh was pulling me. I wanted to leave, to hide, to pretend that everything was fine. But, for the first time, I couldn't run away. I accepted. And they invited me to study the Bible. It seems simple, right? It even seems beautiful to tell it that way after all. But I assure you, it wasn't easy. In the early days, it seemed like everything was conspiring against me. With every text I read, I remembered how dirty, destroyed, and lost I was. With every study, voices arose in my mind saying, "This isn't for you. You'll never change. You were born to be a failure." I even missed some studies. I went back to drinking a few times. I fell. I repented. I fell again. It was weeks of daily struggle. The enemy did everything he could to pull me back. Old friends showed up calling me to the bar, to the party, to the old way, and many times, I confess, I almost accepted. But every time I opened the Bible, it seemed that God was pulling me back. And there, studying, I began to discover things I had never heard before. The truth about God's commandments, the Sabbath as a sign between God and His people, the prophecies that explain exactly the time we are living in, and above all, the love of a God who does not give up. But look, don't think that my life changed overnight. It wasn't like that. The process was long. After I made the decision to be baptized, I thought everything would be resolved as if by magic. But no, I still spent months struggling with myself, against my desires, against memories of the past. And the hardest part was looking at photos of my wife, my children, and knowing that I had lost everything because of my choices. Even with my life changing, I still carried the pain of not having my family with me. But God is an expert in the impossible. As time went by, My wife began to realize that something had really changed in me. She didn't believe it at first. For her, it was just another phase, another one of my failed attempts. But as the weeks went by, the months, she began to see that I was no longer the same man. It started with small conversations. Then she let me visit the children, until, over time, forgiveness happened. Today, thank God, my family has been restored. It didn't happen overnight. It took months of prayer, of struggle, of regaining trust, of proving through my actions that I was a new man. And all of this, I only achieved because one day, I learned the truth. Through the Seventh-day Adventist Church, I discovered a God who not only forgives, but who rebuilds lives from scratch. It was there that I understood that God doesn't just want to free you from addictions, pain, loneliness. He wants to give you a new life, an abundant life, with purpose and hope. Adventism is not just another religion. It is a school of transformation. It is where you learn that obeying God is not a burden. It is liberation. I learned that the 10 Commandments are a manual for life, that the Sabbath is not an imposition, but a gift from God to reconnect us with Him. I learned about health, about caring for the body, mind, and soul. I discovered truths that had been hidden from me my whole life. Truths that opened my eyes and showed me how much God cares about every detail of our existence. Through prophetic messages, I understood that this world is not our home, and that Jesus is coming back. And you know, when you understand that, everything changes. What was once addiction becomes testimony. What was once pain becomes hope. What was once destruction becomes restoration. From a broken man, addicted, lost, God made a new Alan. Today I have peace. Today I have a purpose. Today, I know where I'm going. And if you, who are watching now, feel like I used to feel, powerless, hopeless, thinking that God has forgotten you, I'm here to tell you with absolute certainty, God has not forgotten you. He loves you. He calls you. And just as He did with me, through the truth I found in the Seventh-day Adventist Church, He can do the same for you. Don't give up. It's not too late. God has a plan for your life. If this testimony spoke to you, leave your like, subscribe to the channel, and share this message with someone who needs to hear it today. And tell me here in the comments, what did you think of this story? Do you also have a story of faith, overcoming adversity, transformation? Leave it here in the comments. Who knows? Maybe your testimony will inspire others too. May God bless you and strengthen you. Always.